Welcome to the multiplication course. My name is Steve Whiteborney, and this is how to use the cards to find powerful learning opportunities. In the last video, you created a set of cards beginning on one sheet of paper, and then you used another sheet of paper to create the rest of the cards. Then you flipped each card over and copied the front onto the back, except you didn't write the product on the back, so your cards look like this. Then you gathered your cards together and put them all into a pile and kept them in a safe place for the next video, for this video. In this video, I'll show you how to use the cards. Let's start with don't use the cards like this. You can see that I marked don't because I want to tell you how not to use the cards. A common strategy, which I'll encourage you not to use, is to think about two categories: facts I know and facts I don't know. Then with those categories in mind, someone looks at the first card, thinks about the answer. Let's say they know that 3 times 5 is equal to 15, so they check and see that they are correct. And then they move the card to start the pile of facts I know. In this example of what not to do, that person sees the next card, which says 2 times 6. They know that the answer is 12. Then they flip the card over to check and see that they are correct, so they put it in the facts I know pile. Then they see the next card. It says 2 times 8. They can't think of the product of 2 times 8, so they flip the card over, see that it's 16, and immediately move it to the facts I don't know. And then they move to the next one. They see 3 times 7, and they know that the answer is 21. So they flip over the card, see that they are correct, and move it to the facts I know pile. Then they see the next card, which says 3 times 8. They think, I haven't learned this one yet. So they flip over the card, see that the answer is 24, and quickly move it to the I don't know pile. Let's continue with the what not to do example. They see the next card, which reads 3 times 9, and think, I don't know. So they flip it over, see that it's 27, and quickly move it to the I don't know pile. Then they see 5 times 9, and think, I know this one, it's 45. So they flip it over and see 45 and move it to facts I know. Next they see 4 times 9 and think, I don't know it. Then flip the card over, see that it is 36 and move it to the I don't know pile. The last card in our example of what not to do is 3 times 6. The person looks at 3 times 6, again thinks, I don't know this one, flips it over and sees that it is 18 and quickly moves it to the I don't know pile. Before I show you a new way to approach this, let me ask 2 questions. Question 1, did this person learn anything new about this group of facts? Question 2, did this person learn anything new about this group of facts? Of course, the answer is no. It's true that the facts have been separated, and that might become useful, but notice that there is no deep thinking about math ideas. So, how else could this have been done? Let's take a look. Let's move to do use the cards like this, where you will see a different example. You can see that I marked do because now I will show you a way to use the cards that will lead you to powerful learning. Let's look at exactly the same cards in exactly the same order. I'll also begin with the same 2 categories, although we'll change those later. Here is the example of what to do. This person looks at the first card and sees that it says 3 times 5. They take a moment to think about how 3 times 5 is equal to 5 times 3. They know that 3 groups of 5 is equal to 5 groups of 3, and that they can think about it either way. That is very important. They know that 3 times 5 and 5 times 3 are equal to 15. They flip the card over and see that the product is 15. So they move it to the category of facts I know. The next card says 2 times 6. So they know the product is equal to both 2 times 6 and 6 times 2, which is 12. The card is flipped over and they see 12. So the card is moved to this pile. Then they see the next card. It says 2 times 8 or 8 times 2. And the person in our example doesn't know the product. The card is flipped over and they see that the product is 16. In the first what not to do example, they just placed it in this pile and then immediately moved to the next card. But not in this example. Now that the product can be seen, this person thinks about what they already know. They know that 2 times 6 is equal to 12, and they see that this is also multiplying by 2. They recognize that there is an important connection, so they think carefully about what it might be. They also notice that when you multiply by 2, the result is the same as doubling. When you double 6, the result is 12. When you double 8, the result is 16. They have thought about a big idea. How did that happen? This person is not rushing to the next card. Instead, they are giving themselves time to think deeply, and they are looking for connections. So they move this card to the middle. Notice this person doesn't know the new fact quite yet, but they have a very solid way to think about it. They know that they can think about 2 times 8 as doubling 8. This is a much different way to use the cards, and it leads to deep thinking. Let's look at the rest of the cards in the same order as the first example to see what the first person missed by moving too quickly. The next card was 3 times 7, which can also be thought of as 7 times 3. They know the product is 21. The card was flipped over, there is 21. So it was moved to facts I know. The next card was 3 times 8, which is equal to 8 times 3. Remember in the first example, the person thought, I haven't learned this one yet. They just glanced very briefly at the answer, quickly moved it to I don't know, and moved right along to the next card. However, in this example, the person knows that they can think deeply about what they know. They know that 3 groups of 8 is equal to 8 groups of 3. And they know this can be thought of as 7 groups of 3. So this fact they don't know is strongly connected to a fact they do know. They know that if 7 groups of 3 is equal to 21, then 8 groups of 3 must be 3 more than 21. So they work out that it is 24. They flip the card over and see 24, and they know that 7 groups of 3 is 21, so 8 groups of 3 must be 24. So they move the card here. They don't know the fact yet, but they have found a very important connection. This fact doesn't belong in I don't know. It belongs in this place, in between, which is a place of seeking connections and finding connections and making connections. It's a place of powerful learning. You may have noticed that by looking at the cards in this place of powerful learning, that you may find even more connections. 2 groups of 8 is equal to 16. So 3 groups of 8 must be 8 more than that, which is 24. There are many opportunities that start to appear when you open up this space for powerful learning. The next card read 3 times 9. In our first example, the person said, I don't know, flipped the card over, briefly glanced at 27, slid the card up here, and immediately moved on without thinking about it anymore. However, in our new example of what to do, something much different happens. This time when the person sees 3 times 9 and thinks about how 3 times 9 is equal to 9 times 3 and doesn't know the answer, but they also think about what they already know and what they are learning. Before we see what they do, I'd like you to take a moment to see if you can find a useful connection on the screen. Pause the video to look for a useful connection. The person sees something that you may have seen. They see that 3 times 7 can be thought of as 7 groups of 3. This can be thought of as 8 groups of 3, and this can be thought of as 9 groups of 3. These are all connected because they can all describe groups of 3. 7 groups of 3 is equal to 21. 8 groups of 3 is equal to 24. And 1 more group of 3 is equal to this product. So they work out that 24 plus 3 is equal to 27. Then they flip over the card and see 27. They can see the counting by 3 starting with the 7th multiple of 3. 21, 24, 27. That is so much more powerful than simply saying, I don't know. They make space in this middle category, this place of powerful learning, and add the new card to it. Then they move to the next card. Remember that they knew the answer to this one. They knew that 5 times 9 is equal to 9 times 5, and they knew that the product is 45. They checked, saw 45, and moved it here. In the first example, the next card read 4 times 9. They didn't know. They simply said, I don't know, then flipped it over, saw the 36, and didn't think any more about it, and simply moved it to I don't know, and then immediately left it behind by moving on to the next card. They didn't think carefully about how 4 times 9 is equal to 9 times 4, and they also missed some very important connections that were right in front of them. I'll show some connections to you in a moment, but here comes another pause opportunity for you to see if you can find the connection that they missed. Pause the video to look for a useful connection. In our new example, a connection that this person noticed was that there were other groups of 9 in sight. They already know that 5 groups of 9 is equal to 45. They are learning that 3 groups of 9 is equal to 27. And this card is asking what 4 groups of 9 is equal to. These ideas are all connected. And seeing that is an important step toward powerful learning. If 3 groups of 9 is equal to 27, then 4 groups of 9 must be 9 more than that, and 5 groups of 9 must be 9 more. Even though this card can't move to the facts I know pile, it certainly doesn't belong in facts I don't know, because a strategy has been discovered that can lead to the answer in a meaningful way. It belongs in the powerful learning pile, and it looks like that pile is running out of room. So the label that says I don't know needs to move over to make more space for powerful learning. The label is moved, more space is created, and this card is added to the powerful learning pile. Which brings us to the final card in our example. The card read 3 times 6. In the first example, the person said, I don't know, then they flipped it over, saw the 18, and didn't think about it anymore. They simply moved it aside to the I don't know pile, and that was it. That was all they did with this card. But in our example, we know that there are some important ideas and important information that they already know that could be very helpful. Do you remember what the first fact was that they looked at? It's right here, and it was very easy for this person. They knew that 3 times 5 is equal to 5 times 3, which is equal to 15. They see the connection between 5 groups of 3 and 6 groups of 3. They can both describe groups of 3. They know that 5 groups of 3 is equal to 15, so 6 groups of 3 must be 3 more than that. Because they can see a powerful learning strategy, this card doesn't belong in the I don't know category. It doesn't mean that they suddenly learn this product, but what it does mean is that they are finding powerful learning opportunities. We have a label for the facts on the right, facts I know, and we have a label on the other side which says I don't know, but we don't have a label for the group in the middle, the group which you have worked so hard to find. So we're going to add that label now. And on that label, we're going to write 2 words. Those words are powerful learning. This is a very, very important group. This is where you are finding and creating new connections. Powerful learning is happening here. This group is so important that it changes the labels of the other 2 groups. I'll show you what those new labels are in a moment. But first I want to let you know that now it's your turn. Do use your cards like this. Set your cards in front of you, but don't begin yet. Before you start, tear off 3 small pieces of paper to use as labels. On the first one, write ideas I know, because they aren't simply facts. They are filled with important ideas that you can use to learn even more ideas. On this piece of paper, write the words not yet. That will remind you that you will know these ideas soon. You just don't know them yet, but they are getting very close. And finally, the very important label. On this piece of paper, write the words powerful learning. Pause the video to create the labels. Now that you are ready, it's your turn. Begin thinking deeply about the ideas represented on the cards. Now it's your turn to find those powerful learning opportunities. This is the multiplication course. My name is Steve Whiteborney, and this is how to use the cards to find powerful learning opportunities.